All right, let's talk about resumes some more. Personalize it to your own experiences. You are welcome to work with a resume you already have if you would like to dissect it and polish it and freshen it. You're welcome to abandon whatever you have and start fresh. And if you're just starting and you don't have a resume, that's great. You have a fresh, clean slate. That's super. There are lots of ways to do these. As I mentioned in an earlier recording, there's no one right format for resumes anymore. Mine is a simple Word doc, but you can also use a template. And if you're a little insecure about the process, you might really like a template. Some people don't care for them as much because you kind of have to work within the confines of said template. But if you're kind of feeling overwhelmed and don't know where to start, a template can be useful. You can find some templates simply in Microsoft Word. Let's just go up here and find resume templates and see what we got. Ta-da! Look at all of those. And you all have access to Microsoft Word for free because you are students. If you do not know that, you can just Google it, put in your maine.edu email address, and then you have it. And you should have it because teachers like it. And at any rate, look at all of these. And you can work with any of these templates. As well, you can just Google resume template and you will find a million of them as well. So there's all kinds of templates available. Don't allow that to be your primary focus because that's a rabbit hole and that can get overwhelming too. And I would say too that you need to think about the substance of your resume, not just the fancy template, right? Like it's really what matters is really what's in said resume. So let's talk about that a little. A few common concerns. Should I include high school? Most likely not. Unless you are still in high school or very recently graduated from high school can be gone. The fact that you're in college and have college experience already suggests that you've done high school, so you don't need to include that. But if you're a very recent graduate and that's where all your accolades and experience is, then you can include it for a couple of years. How far back do you need to go with work experience? That so depends, right? I put on my resume my work experience that has to do with education because that's my field. But any jobs I had before then, those are not on there. That being said, there are times that it can be useful to keep work that might not be applicable to your new life that you're imagining because it shows some things, right? There's always all this in between the line stuff that can be read into things. And, having a good work ethic is important. So showing that you've always worked, showing growth in these industries, showing dedication, maybe you stayed in a place for a long time. Those all communicate something. So I wouldn't necessarily be quick to omit things, but definitely, the pizza job you had in high school, if you're my age, you can probably get rid of that. All right. Another question that's very common is, what do I do about gaps? Gaps are not as big a deal as they used to be. Gaps in your work history used to really primarily affect women negatively because women would very often take a few years off to raise children, and that was looked at as like professional suicide. Like you never could make up for that. I would like to think we're beyond that now. But you can definitely utilize those gaps. And I would like to direct you to page 472 in your textbook because they actually give you some great examples about how to weave those experiences into your resume. So if you took time off as a caregiver for elderly parents, for children, you were working, and B, you had skill. And they give you some great examples about how to potentially illuminate that in your experience section of your resume. They have, for example, primary child care provider, provided full-time care to 3 preschool children at home, facilitated early learning activities, taught basic academic skills, nutrition, arts, and swimming, organized schedules and events, managed the household, and served as neighborhood watch captain. Great. Home caregiver, provided 60 hours per week in home care for Alzheimer's patient, coordinated healthcare and medical appointments, developed and supervised exercise programs, etc., etc. So I highly recommend if you've taken time off for caregiving that you incorporate that, because as someone who also did that, I'm highly aware of the skills that were developed and the effort that was put in there. There are other gaps that may be a bit more challenging to negotiate. For example, if you were justice involved, or if you were taking care of a mental health crisis, if you had were overcoming an addiction, those things may have made it impossible for you to be working. However, you can think about those times and the skills you might have developed. Did you become a group leader? Are you a mentor? Did you develop some new interpersonal skills? There are definitely things that you can do. As a caveat, be careful about what you disclose, because you don't want to invite any kind of discrimination, right? People are not allowed to discriminate, but people do. So be thoughtful about, what you want to divulge in terms of your own health and well-being, for example. As far as incarcerated folks, as far as I know, you still have to divulge that on an application anyhow, in which case you might as well use that experience and, again, show the classes you took, the workshops, the trainings, the different, things that you did personally and professionally to self-develop. I think that that's really an important piece. So there's always ways to kind of put your best foot forward, is what I would say. Another thing to think about is length. Unless you are a midlife person, your resume should probably be 1 page. And I get a lot of resistance about this. But 1 page, well-developed, concise, can actually have more of an impact. You got to remember your audience, right? And your audience has got a stack of resumes they've got to go through, and you need to stand out. You need to stand out in a vibrant, robust way, but you also need to not bog them down and be annoying and wordy. What do I mean by that? Let's look at an example, shall we? This is actually from your textbook. This is Chris Renault's resume. I don't know exactly what page it's on because that got cut off on my scanner, but it's in the resume section. Although this is 1 page, there is just too much happening here. I feel like I am having information thrown at me. It feels aggressive. It's exhausting. I don't like it. And that is not the impression that you want to put forth, right? So think about that. Look at how much is going on here. Look at how busy this is. There are different fonts. You have bolded, you have italicized, you have regular, you have so many lines, so many headings, lots of different structure and formatting. It's just too much happening. And I haven't even read it. Once I do read it, I'm going to point out some more things that this is just a great example of what not to do. For one thing, this is not a dating app, okay? This to me reads like a dating ad. Reliable, compassionate, and competent RN seeking med-surg position. Likes long walks on the beach. I mean, really, that's all that's missing, right? No. No. Dedicated registered nurse routinely praised for strengths in patient relations. Again, no. Your letters, your recommenders, the people who you're going to put down as references, let them praise you, okay? That's what you should be doing. Education is listed here, okay? And see how the GPA is included. If you have a high GPA, go ahead and include that. If you don't worry about it, but just don't include it. Licenses. I'm up in the air about this because I can't say for certain because I'm not a nurse, so I'm not trained, but this seems redundant to me. I would assume if you're a nurse that you know CPR, but maybe it's important that the dates of the certifications are there. Although I would still argue that you could just say all certifications up to date. I don't necessarily think you need all this, but that's just my opinion. Affiliations aren't really giving me any more information necessarily, but again, maybe it's a requirement for the position. Okay. Then let's come down here. We're still not seeing, and what you're still going to start seeing is this person has not yet worked as a nurse. So what we're seeing is this person has only worked as a nurse being trained, which is totally fine. However, earned excellent marks on evals. Okay, show me what you did. Show me, something phenomenal that you did. So show me something positive that you did. Do not include these comments. Again, this should be something the reference is doing. I hate to pick on this poor one, but I always do. There's just so many problems with this. And so on top of being super, super busy and hard to read, it just doesn't tell you a lot. Given how much it's got on the page, it's just not telling you very much at all. In contrast, we have Ana Maria Lopez on page 463. Again, not using a template, very, very simple, right? But it's clean. Do you see how clean it is? Her name is emboldened and slightly larger than everything else. So if I'm filing through a whole bunch of resumes, I'm going to see it really easily. Her contact information is clear. Oh, appropriate emails. If you're still working on your middle school email, your, hotkitty25@aol.com, get rid of it. Get a professional sounding email. Very important. And look, she's just starting out. So she started with her education. She's going to have her bachelor's expected June 2018. Please be sure you do this. Include UMA, include your degree that you're pursuing, and your anticipated date of graduation. She's got a few things that have to do with school and that have to do with what she wants to do. If you look, this is all very, very focused on a job in the dental hygiene field. So she only includes educational information that has to do with that. Down here, she literally specifically has a dental experience category. So it's all focused on dental, and again, reading between the lines, it shows growth, right? First, she was an intern. The next summer, she was an assistant. So you're seeing growth and development. She includes some computer proficiencies because I think those are particularly important for her profession. And she hones her volunteer activity to very, very specifically connect with what else? Dental stuff. Excellent, excellent example of a resume for someone just starting out. And then on the contrary, we have this resume of Joshua, who has had quite a career. And so you'll see that education doesn't get as much space. The professional experience gets more space. And you'll see that this one's more stylized. It really makes a lot of sense given that his profession is a graphic designer, right? So now this is actually showing his talent. And you can see how easily it is to see all this stuff. Similarly to Ana Maria, you've got stuff very, very pertinent to graphic design. The only activities that are included are things that have to do with that. Same with skills. Same with the highlights of education. So there's more examples in your textbook as well, but those are some that I think really help start to give you an idea of what you might want to do. So what I think you should do is, having looked at the first video where you've collected all that information, you've got all this stuff, now make the story, right? Make the resume, show us who you are, see what you come up with, and then reach out to me with any questions or concerns that I might not have addressed. Okay? Good luck. Bye.